Saturday, everyone. We got a fun little work set for you guys today. It's a little longer, but it's a little slower. So I want you guys to have some fun with this. Take it down, and don't feel as though you have to try and rush through this work set. It's going to take a little while. It's going to be a fun time. So before we get to that, let's talk about our warm-up. Our warm-up is going to consist of a dynamic triangle of 3 to 5 aside, plank hold of 5 seconds, the side plank for 5 seconds. So we're just going to flow from full plank to side planks 3 to 5 times. Forearm side plank reach through for 15 seconds per side. We're going to hit that for 2 rounds. So just going to work on a little bit of core work and getting things kind of heated up from the inside out. From there, we're going to move into a humeral glide to knee push-up. And we're going to do 3 to 5 reps here, working on that skill of the push and just making sure we prime that positioning for later on. Dumbbell pullover for 3 to 5 into a weighted dead bug of 6 to 10 alternating, and then a single leg bridge march for 20 seconds. So that's really going to kind of finalize and get things kind of fired up in our bodies and get things heated up for what's to come. After that, we're going to move into a practice round to make sure we're comfortable with what we have going on and what we're doing to make sure that we kind of have the flow down of the work set and then take it from there. So our work set today is 25-minute AMRAP. Our 25-minute AMRAP is going to consist of a farmer's carry of 400 meters or a combo movement set if you don't have space to walk and do that farmer's carry. So we'll have some options for you, but it's going to be kind of a combo kind of movement set to kind of build that same kind of feel as the farmer's carry. After the farmer's carry, when you come back from your 400 meters, you're going to move into a bridge pullover for 12 burpees, and then 12 vertical power jumps, or box jump, or broad jump. So some sort of explosive hip motion to get you guys going, and then we get to go back into our walk again. So we have a 400-meter farmer's carry, or equivalent, into a bridge pullover for 12, burpee for 12, and a vertical power jump for 12. So we'll have some fun with this, get you guys ready to go. It's going to be a nice steady state kind of flow where heart rate's going to spike a bit in this little piece, but then it's going to settle down in that farmer's carry. So let's get you warmed up. Let's get you ready for action. All right, let's start our day off. Let's get our feet under our hips. We'll take the arms big and tall up overhead. We're going to reach over to one side, big side bend. We're going to reach over to the other side, big side bend. We'll come back to center. We'll forward fold, touching those toes. We're going to walk up the shins. And then we're going to come back down, framing the foot, stepping back into our lizard. We're going to take our inside hand on that front foot, lock those legs, turn the torso, come back to center. Turn the torso, come back to center, and turn the torso, back to center. We're going to lower the knee, press the hip, come back to center, press the hip, back to center, and press the hip, back to center. Planting that hand, let's straighten up the back leg, step back into our down dog, reaching those hips nice and steady. We're going to walk our heels out nice and smooth, nice and slow. Just feeling out those ankles, getting that body nice and prepped. We'll come back into our plank and step the other foot up. Locking that foot in place, we'll turn, come back to center. We'll turn, come back to center, and turn, back to center. We're going to lower the knee, we're going to press the hip, come back to center, press the hip, back to center, and one more time, press the hip, back to center. Planting the hand, we'll straighten the leg, step back into our down dog. Setting those shoulders again, we'll walk our feet out nice and easy. Just waking up those calves, waking up those hamstrings, nice and gentle. And we'll come back into our plank, pulling those ribs in, pressing those shoulders up. We'll tiptoe those feet up, and we're going to roll ourselves all the way up. Big, tall stretch. Clasp your fingers and press and reach. Good, press and reach. Good, we'll come back down with those hands. Whew. Let's get you guys fired up. All right, if you have any extra gentle kind of warm-up that you'd like to do for yourself now, some band work, cat-cow curls, thread the needles, take that down, have some fun with it, get yourself prepped. We're going to move into some core work and get your body kind of ready for some rotation, plus generating some good heat from the inside out. All right, our first phase of warm-up is going to consist of some core work. And we're going to get ourselves set up in our sumo stance. And we're going to start off with some T-spine kind of mobility and some opening of those hips. So we're going to set the ribs and hips. Hands going to come to the thigh. Toes going to point to the side. The other toe is on an angle. The arm is going to reach up and screw that light bulb into the ceiling. So we're setting that shoulder and arm. Then we're going to draw the hip back as we reach up to the sky. So we're nice, smooth pull back through that hip. And then we come back up nice and slow. So we're really focusing on setting that shoulder as we pull the hip back and get that nice hinge. We're going to be using a few hinges today in our couple variations. So this is a really nice piece just to kind of start waking up that side bend and really start opening up that T-spine and that chest as we work on that opening of the shoulder. We're going to take that through 3 to 5 per side, taking your time. Then we're going to move into some planks. So what we're going to work through is a nice plank hold to side plank. So we're going to set ourselves up in that really solid plank. Hands gripping the floor, pushing through the shoulders, pulling the ribs in, holding this plank for 5 seconds. Our eyes are looking slightly in front of the fingers, or looking kind of that tripod position. Then from here, we can do one of 3 things actually. We can roll into a stacked foot position into our side plank for 5 seconds per side. Or we can roll into a bladed stance, so our feet are one in front of the other, so a little bit more balance here. Or we can come into a supported side plank, so we lower our knee down, turn the toe, open up through that hip, and open up through that upper body. So we can move into that side plank as we work on that control. We're going to do a plank for 5 seconds, 5-second side plank of any one of those variations on both sides. Now something very important to keep in mind for both styles of plank, full plank and side plank, we are always pressing the floor away from ourselves. So we're actively pressing into the floor, we're nice and set through those shoulders, but that single arm plank especially, make sure we're actively pressing before we start shifting into that single arm, because that's going to keep that shoulder stable and happy. After we do our 3 to 5 variations of that plank hold to side plank, we're going to move into our side plank reach through. So our side plank reach through, we're going to get ourselves into our forearm plank for this one. So elbow under the shoulder, arm is nice and flat. We can do this again, stacked or bladed. We can also do this full side plank, or we can do this from the knees in the side plank. Just keeping in mind, if we do it from the knees, we're not going to have as much rotation, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that we're working to the edge of our capacity. So the reach through portion comes in, we set our side plank up first, we reach our arm up to the ceiling, we come through, reaching the arm through as best we can, getting a little bit of rotation, and then we reach up into that nice side plank. So we're working on rotating through the upper body and then opening out through the chest and working through those positions. So they're not fast, so take your time. You're going to move through that 15 seconds per side, and we're trying to keep those feet nice and flat so they're not rolling up onto the toe as we rotate. It's just the upper body portion that's rotating through that body position. So take your time with that. Balance is a key factor, and it's gonna burn real hard in that side body. Now, as a quick recap, we have a dynamic triangle for 3 to 5 a side, plank hold of 5 seconds to side plank for 5 seconds per side, 3 to 5 times. Forearm side plank reach through for 15 seconds per side, just taking your time. There's no set reps there, so you might get 2, you might get 4 reps, who knows, but take your time and work through that balance. We got 2 rounds of that. It's gonna start generating some good heat in your body, and then we're gonna move into this next phase, which is gonna be a little bit more skill development for what we're doing today in our workout. So pause the video, take that down, 2 rounds of work, and then come join me for our next phase. All right, our next phase of work is gonna work on a few skills. We need a dumbbell for this one, so we're gonna pull that dumbbell nice and close. We don't need the dumbbell for our first movement, but we will need it for the rest. We're gonna be laying on our back. So our first movement in our work set is our humeral glide to knee push-up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get ourselves on our stomach, hands just outside the chest, shoulders are going to be nice and active and set here position. And I'm gonna pull my shoulders forward to where I don't want them necessarily to push up. And then I'm gonna pull them back to where I do, so they're back and set. My elbows are stacked over top of my wrist, and then I'm gonna pull my ribs and hips in, pushing into my knee push-up, nice and stable. And then from here, I'm gonna lower down, leading with my chest, and maintaining that nice stacked position over my elbow and wrist. So again, once I get down to the floor, I reset. So I pull the shoulders forward, I pull the shoulders back, pull the ribs and hips in, push to the knees. I can take a breath here, reset the tension if I need to, and then slowly lower down to the ground. So we're trying to build the awareness of what we're going to be doing a little bit more dynamically later on in our burpees or our push-ups later on down the road in our training kind of career. So focusing on those good key positions, feeling where we don't want the shoulders, feeling where we do, maintaining that tension through the ribs, pushing through those arms, and still maintaining that position. So we want to make sure everything comes up together and everything lowers together. So very, very important lessons that we can learn in that movement set. Now from there, we're going to flip onto our back, and this is where we need our dumbbell. So we're going to get ourselves set up like we're going to do a bridge. So my heel's going to be just kind of outside my finger's reach. From here, I'm going to take my dumbbell, and I'm going to get it set up over top of my chest. So I'm going to hold on to the dumbbell with soft elbows, not bent elbows, but soft elbows, and the elbows are going to be pointing out to the side. Now we're going to pull the ribs in, and I like to press into the dumbbell while I do these movements because it gives me a sense of control, and it also helps me control the dumbbell a little bit more as I lower down. So from here, I'm going to take the dumbbell down to the floor, keeping my low back in contact. I'm going to control that descent until that dumbbell touches the floor. Then I'm going to press it back up, using that pec and stabilizing through the lats. So my ribs are in, I get a little pressure upwards. I'm going to come down, actively pressing into the dumbbell the entire time, taking it to that desired range, and then come back up. It's not a fast movement, nor does it have to be super slow, but if you'd like to warm up with a nice eccentric, 3 seconds to 5 seconds is a nice lower. Now if you're comfortable and have a little bit more range in this movement, you can hold the dumbbell by both bells, and that's going to give you, again, the same position through the arms, but it is going to allow you to hit more range of motion in this movement. So it's going to allow you to get that nice smooth flow down, but keep in mind it is a considerably higher range of motion than when the dumbbell is vertical. So just keep that in mind as we play. Once we're done our 3 to 5 dumbbell pullovers, we're going to keep the dumbbell over our chest. And we're going to hold it like so by the bells. We're going to pull our ribs in, push the shoulders to the ceiling. And we're going to lift our feet up in that 90-90 position. We're going to work on a weighted dead bug. So we're then going to take a leg down, either bent leg or straight leg. Coming back up. So working through that nice flow. Actively pushing the shoulders to the sky and actively pulling those ribs in. Our next movement can be done with a load or without a load. So I'm going to show you without, but if you want to use a dumbbell, you'll be holding it in the same position that we just did for the weighted dead bug. So without a dumbbell, I'm just going to take my arms up to the ceiling. I'm going to pull the ribs in, push the shoulders up to the sky. I'm going to push my feet into the floor as I lift my hips. So the pushing down of the feet is what lifts the hips up. Then I'm going to work on a single leg bridge march. So I'm always reaching, I'm always pressing down with a foot, and I lift a foot, and I put that foot down. Lift a foot, put that foot down. Lift, push that foot down. So as I lift a leg, I'm pushing that balancing leg down into the floor to maintain stability as I march those legs back and forth. So it's very important we get that downward pressure with the feet as we're reaching up with the arms. So that's something we can kind of focus on. It's very challenging sometimes because there's lots going on. We have our arms reaching, we have our ribs pulled in, and then we have to push down with our feet as we're lifting the leg. But
that pushing down is so crucial, I cannot stress it enough, that it will help stabilize basically from here all the way up to those ribs. So that really does help. So if there's one thing you can focus on at the beginning, it's that pressure down with the foot. And then if you're like, oh, my shoulders aren't reaching anymore, then start to check in with those once we figured out what we got going on with the feet and those legs. So first check in with the legs, then over time start remembering and pressing in with those shoulders. Now as a quick recap, we have a humeral glide to knee push-up for 3 to 5 reps, dumbbell pullover, weighted dead bug for 6 to 10 alternating reps, and a single leg bridge march for 20 seconds. We're gonna hit that for 2 rounds, and then we're gonna move into a little practice round that gives you an opportunity to work on your farmer's carry and the movements that are coming in our workout. So pause the video, take down that piece, it's gonna prep you really well, and we're gonna take down this work set. All right, we're into the practice round. We're into those movements that we're gonna use in our workout. So what we start the workout off with today is a farmer's carry. So some of you may not have a distance that you can walk with 2 dumbbells or a suitcase carry where you can hold with 1. So if you're doing a suitcase carry, I'll have a distance per side that you guys can kind of play around with in your work set. So check that out if you have access to 1 dumbbell, but if you have 2, we'll work on that farmer's carry with both. Now something that's very important in the farmer's carry that we are going to talk about briefly is keeping those shoulders back and down so that we're staying in that nice tall posture. The ribs are in, but my shoulders are set. We're not letting the dumbbells pull our shoulders forward and round out that upper back. We want to make sure that we're standing tall and upright the entire time. If we start to feel our posture starting to kind of collapse forward, or our shoulders starting to turn inwards, just deadlift the dumbbells down, shake it out a little bit, and then pick them up when you feel ready to go. Okay, because you may have to put those dumbbells down depending on the loading that we're using in this farmer or suitcase carry. Now if you don't have a distance laid out for yourself for the farmer's carry that you can use outside, we have a little combo movement set that you can work through. So what we're going to work on, we're going to have a single dumbbell. We're going to bring our feet under our hips. The dumbbell is going to be to the side like you would be in a suitcase carry. I'm going to bring my hand up to my head. It doesn't have to be a fist to the temple, but we're just going to bring our hand up to our head like a little handle. I'm going to set my ribs and glutes, and then I'm going to slowly take this dumbbell down towards the knee, just a little bit, and then I'm going to squeeze and pull it back up to neutral. So I'm letting the dumbbell drift down towards the knee, squeeze it back up through that side body. So we're working on that little side crunch. And then we're going to squeeze it back up. These are teapots. So we're going to work on this teapot, giving ourselves an opportunity to work on that little side crunch and stability through that body. Then from there, we're going to work into a standing suitcase march. Right into it from our teapots. We're going to work right into that march. We'll switch hands and just keep that march going. So we're going to keep that body tall, our core tight, shoulders down, and we're going to lift that knee up nice and high, working on those hips and quads. From there, we are going to move into a nice standard bridge march. So we're going to lay ourselves down on the floor, which is going to bring us into our movement that's coming next after the farmer's carry. And what you're going to do is you're going to work on that single leg bridge march we worked on in the workout, in the previous warm-up, and you're going to work on that for an allotted time to work on that stability through the body and work on our positioning. So those 3 movements are going to be used as a little movement complex to replace the farmer's carry if you don't have space to do a farmer's carry or a suitcase carry. So check the workout description at the bottom. I'll have that there for you. Check the reps, take it down. It's going to be very similar feel, but it'll just be a little bit different. It'll give you a lot of top to bottom engagement, but it just to give you some variance in terms of the long farmer's carry we have today. Now, after the farmer's carry, we have our bridge pullover. Now the bridge pullover is bringing the bridge
and our pullover together as one. So I'm gonna lay down, my feet are gonna be just outside my fingers. I'm gonna get myself set up like I was going to do a normal pullover. So I'm gonna set my elbows up to the outside, soft elbows, pushing with the dumbbell a bit. My ribs come in, I'm gonna push through my feet to get those hips up into the air, and then I'm gonna take the dumbbell down towards the floor in that pullover position. So I'm maintaining a static bridge while I control that upper body and that descent of the dumbbell. So I'm going to be working on that pressure into the feet, that good solid core position, and that good pullover. So a couple things to think about during this movement. If you feel your bridge starting to get a little soft or kind of deteriorate as you're doing those reps, come out of it, rest, shake it out. If you feel the engagement through the upper back starting to kind of deteriorate, rest, come out of it, shake it out, and then get those reps done in small pieces. Because it is going to be a little bit more taxing than your normal pullover because you are holding that bridge in that static position the entire time. You should not feel this in the neck or the head in terms of holding any extra pressure. We should be able to support with those shoulders as we press into that dumbbell and the feet. So the feet and the shoulders are going to take the majority of the loading of our body in the dumbbell. Now after we're done our 12 bridge pullovers, we're going to work on 12 burpees. So we have two variations of the burpee. We have our full burpee and we have our squat thrust. So they both offer a slightly different challenge, and they both offer a few key points to think about that are slightly different. So our full burpee, we come down, chest and thighs touch at the same time. Or I can do a step back variation, or any combo of those two things. Now key points to think about, same points of performance as our humeral glide to knee push-up. So as we lower down, our elbow stays stacked over top of our wrist. We end up creating a nice tripod between the hands and the forehead and the head. And we create that nice solid 45 degree with the angle. It's just like a push-up. Now if we're doing our squat thrust, we get ourselves down, we plant those hands into the floor, jump our feet back, jump it in, or we step our feet back, step it in. Or any combination of those two things. Now the squat thrust offers a slightly different challenge because what we need to do is keep our hands underneath of our shoulder the entire time. So we want to make sure that we're actively pressing the floor away and hitting that strong plank so the lower half does all the work as it pops in and out. The upper body is stabilizing and maintaining a nice static hold. So really focus on those key points there with that squat thrust. Might slow you down a little bit, but that's okay. It'll give you a chance to really work on that good position and take down that movement really solid. Now our last movement is a little bit more dynamic, and we're going to work on some sort of explosive hip action. I have the vertical power jump on there for you guys, but also if you'd like to put box jump in there or a broad jump, you're more than welcome. So check the workout description. I'll have a few different things listed on the bottom. But the vertical power jump, we did this yesterday in our workout as well. So what we want to think about is getting that nice swing of the arms. So we're in that power position. We're in the good hinge. Not a big knee bend, but just enough to break the hip of the knee. So I get that nice swing, and then I'm going to jump vertical. And I'm not worrying about height here. I'm worrying about rebound and absorption. So I want you to watch how I land and move into the next rep. So I start my first rep, swing up, swing up, swing up. And I allow myself to absorb into that next rep. I'm not trying to go super fast to the next rep, but I'm absorbing and giving back the energy. It's very similar to a kettlebell swing. So we want to make sure that when we're doing that, that can be a very good comparison. If you have trouble absorbing into that next jump, that kettlebell swing is a good thing to keep in mind because we absorb with the kettlebell and then give it back, give it back, give it back. So we can work through that same skill transfer with those movements. They're slightly different, but they're very similar.
Now another variation we can play with is the broad jump. So with the broad jump, same setup as the vertical power jump. You get that break in the hip and knee in that power position, except instead of going up, we're going to go forward. So we can play around with big jumps, or we can work on some rebound jumps. So we get the swing, and we land, trying to land in that same power position, in that nice absorption. Or we can work on some slightly smaller jumps and work on a little bit more of a rebound style broad jump. But regardless of the styles, we're still absorbing on the landing, hitting that good power position, and opening those hips and knees, using those legs and hips to get the body moving. So have fun with those two variations. If you have a box and you like to do box jumps, you can work on that as well. But the key point there as well, it's the same setup, except you're landing on the box in that power position. So experiment, play, have fun with these movements, you guys. I want you to make this one yours and challenge yourself to where you want to be challenged today. So as a quick recap with this workout, we have an AMRAP, 25 minutes. It's a little longer, but our first movement is a little slower. So we're going to work on a 400-meter farmer's carry or suitcase carry, depending if you have 1 or 2 dumbbells. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take down that bridge pullover for 12, which again is not a fast movement. Set yourself up well, execute nice and strong. 12 burpees and then 12 vertical power jumps or your variation of vertical power jump for today. Then you're going to repeat and you're going to hit that for 25 minutes. So you have quite a few rounds of this work set to take down, but this is meant to be kind of a steady state flow, not really trying to sprint this workout, but just having a lot of time under tension and some good explosive power for your work set. So as always, you guys, please, please, please have fun with this workout, work for quality, and we'll see you next week for some more fun and some very interesting programming coming your way for leaving June and entering into July. So stay tuned for that, but for this one, have fun, enjoy, we'll see you very soon. Bye, you guys.